Tonight, Monday Night Raw takes place once again from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, inside the WWE ThunderDome, and we have a very interesting match, don't we? Because somewhere, I think Vince Russo actually, I was going to say somewhere Vince Russo is smiling, but Vince Russo, he will be smiling on Sports Keelix. He's actually doing the post show there on Raw, the Legion of Raw, so be sure to check that out. But Vince Russo will be smiling, and I'm sure a lot of people will be asking him about this because we have a guitar on a pole match tonight on Monday Night Raw. Yes, Jeff Hardy is going to be facing Elias in a guitar on a pole match. WWE.com are saying that Jeff Hardy and Elias are ready for their encore. The charismatic Enigma and the Universal Truth recording artists are set to meet tonight in a guitar on a pole match on Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. Now, in the past few weeks, Jeff Hardy and Elias, they've exchanged vicious guitar strikes. They actually had a match at Hell in a Cell which ended in disqualification after Jeff Hardy once again hit Elias with the guitar, hence setting up this match between Jeff Hardy and Elias in a guitar on a pole match tonight. Now, last week on Monday Night Raw, Jeff Hardy and Elias targeted each other with guitar strikes to cost each other spaces on the Survivor Series men's team. So, who will win tonight when both superstars meet in a guitar on a pole match? Now, the company are promising that this is going to be musical mayhem, and I guess maybe, but hopefully, and I think it looks likely to be the blow-off, the finishing point of this mini TV feud between Elias and Jeff Hardy. They've been battling it out after Elias blamed Jeff Hardy for crashing his car in that drunken hit-and-run segment on SmackDown in the spring. As I mentioned, the match at Hell in a Cell between Jeff Hardy and Elias ended in disqualification after the charismatic Enigma hit Elias with a guitar, but now the stringed instruments will be legal once again if someone can pull it down from a pole attached to the turnbuckle. As I mentioned, the pair have traded losses and guitar shots. They both recently moved to Monday Night Raw during the 2020 WWE Draft. Now, I must say, and this is going to maybe surprise people, I don't know, I really haven't liked this feud. I really haven't liked it. I've just found it very, very odd. Now, before I get into why, I will start off with a little bit of positivity after I've just said I hate this feud. Elias released his album recently, Universal Truth, and I tell you what, for a soundtrack, for a heel, and for a WWE album, you know what? It ain't bad. It actually isn't bad. I will give Elias credit for that. I think it's actually not bad at all. That Amen, I'm Going In song, which he performed on Raw a few weeks ago, really isn't bad. It actually isn't bad at all. So credit to Elias for that. The album, Universal Truth, ain't that bad. Go on to Spotify or iTunes or wherever you go find it there. It's actually not bad at all. Actually, if anything, just Google it on here or search for it on YouTube. You find it pretty quickly, and it ain't that bad. Amen, I'm Going In. I recommend it. And I think they're actually using it for Elias's entrance theme now, and it's pretty good. And considering some of the real bad entrance themes we have seen for WWE superstars recently, it's not bad to actually have a half-decent entrance theme for once. So I'll give WWE and Elias credit for that. It's not a bad song at all. And Elias, since he's returned, as I mentioned, I don't like this feud between him and Jeff Hardy, but what I do like is that Elias is once again a heel. He's much better as a heel. I've never attached to Elias as a babyface. I've never really understood why they've done that. I think a couple of times now they've tried him as a babyface and he gets a decent response. The reason why I think they try and turn him babyface, and they've tried this a couple of times, is because as a heel, he's really over. And he does get a great response from the crowd, and he does get people chanting along with him and saying walk with Elias and all that kind of stuff. People do like that. He's a very entertaining gimmick, but it's one of those gimmicks for me that as a heel, you love to hate him. You love to hate him. And the booing and all that kind of stuff, it's just entertaining. And as a babyface, I feel like Elias kind of loses his edge. He becomes a bit soft, and it's just sort of weird put-downs in his songs, and it just doesn't work. And he had the Kiss of Death feud on SmackDown, which is feuding, of course, with King Corbin going into WrestleMania. And to be honest, that makes anyone automatically a heel because that character, King Corbin, is just awful. I mean, awful. It's really bad. The quicker he gets rid of that scepter, that crown, and that cape, the better for his career, honestly. But as I mentioned, when it comes to this Jeff Hardy and Elias feud, I really don't care for it. I really don't. And the reason why I think that I'm so sour on this Elias and Jeff Hardy feud is purely for one reason, really. And that reason is they're continuing to go over and revisit the Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus storyline that we had to sit through earlier this year on SmackDown. And that feud, I mean, that can be left in the past. I never want to see it again. I never want to hear of it again. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. No, and it's no fault of Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. They can't help what's scripted for them. They can't help what the storyline says for them to do. That's not their fault. But in that feud with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, we had public urination tests. We had Sheamus calling Jeff Hardy a junkie, a toast to Jeff Hardy, and then you had the drunken hit and run angle. So if you didn't see it, lucky you, to be honest. But if you didn't see it, Elias gets run down outside the WWE Performance Center. It looks like he's been run down by a car. He's on the floor, he's on the concrete. In reality, this was a way to write Elias off of TV because he suffered a torn pec. That's why he was out so long. And it was essentially framed that Jeff Hardy was drunk once again because he's an alcoholic, he's a junkie, remember, get it, get it. It was framed that Jeff Hardy was drunk and he ran down Elias. And in reality, someone had attacked Jeff Hardy, doused him in Jack Daniels and threw him into a bush about 200 feet away. So the police and the cops there make the assumption that it was Jeff Hardy who ran down Elias. He was drunk once again. So Jeff Hardy gets arrested, but he goes to the police station. He passes all the field sobriety tests, and it wasn't him. It wasn't Jeff Hardy. So then you think, okay, it was Sheamus. Sheamus was trying to set him up. You then have eyewitnesses say that the person who actually ran down Elias was someone with red hair and a red beard. So it was implied during that feud that it was obviously Sheamus. But now they're kind of just not acknowledging that. They just say, well, the person that ran down Elias actually had a red beard and red hair, but the culprit, he's still at large. Well, the culprit isn't at large. He's on Raw. It's Sheamus. He got drafted to Raw. So I don't know if at some point we're going to get Sheamus involved in this feud. God, I hope not. I really hope not. But they're saying, oh, the culprit, he's still at large. And just... not only was that angle in really, really bad taste, but it was also really, really dumb. I mean, someone does a drunken hit and run or a frame job outside a facility, the WWE Performance Center, which has more cameras than Fort Knox, and you can't find out who it was? I mean, in reality, if we're supposed to believe this story, it's just poor police work and dumb police work from the police there in Florida. And Elias just goes, well, it was Jeff Hardy. I know it was Jeff Hardy. When the facts state that it wasn't, maybe that's part of the heel turn, I guess, is that everyone knows that it wasn't Jeff Hardy, but Elias thinks it was. But the facts state it wasn't. And once again, and again, I think this is why I'm so aggravated by this storyline, is once again, Jeff Hardy is stuck in a dumb, nonsensical storyline. And it's just, is it really worth his time? And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Elias, and I'm a big fan of Jeff Hardy. Elias as a heel is fantastic. I mentioned earlier, he gets great heat, he gets great responses, his character is super, super entertaining, and I like Elias segments. And by all accounts, Vince McMahon is a big, big Elias fan. He actually moved him to Monday Night Raw because he sees him as a main eventer on Raw, which is great. I'm all for Elias push. I think his character's great. I think his work's fine. But on the mic, he's really, really good. And there aren't enough guys that on the mic that are really, really good. So I like Elias. And you got Jeff Hardy, you know, he's just signed this new deal with WWE. Everyone thought that this last run was his last run with WWE. And then a couple of months ago, he drops the bombshell, well, I signed a new deal. Turns out that deal isn't the 5-year WWE traditional deal, it's like 2 or 3 years. But he signed a new deal, and the reason he signed this new deal with WWE is because it's his last deal. When this deal is up in a couple of years' time, most likely he's probably going to retire. And I think everyone would probably accept that and thinks that's the case. He probably weighed up his options, thought, you know what, I could go to AEW, I could do maybe one more thing with my brother Matt, but that's done now, and I want to end in WWE, and he knows his body. He knows his body, how long he has left, and his body is beat up to hell, and he's spoken about wanting to go out on a high and do some great stuff, and in reality, the WWE schedule has changed. I think he would have left WWE at the end of this contract, original contract, but then the pandemic happened, the dates got pulled back, he only works once or twice a week now instead of 5 times, the live event system is dead, and even when that comes back, he might have signed a reduced schedule anyway. So maybe he thinks, you know what, 3 more years doing the 1 or 2 dates a week, I can do that, and let's do something special. And his body is beat up to hell. And he's spoken about wanting to go out on a high and do some great stuff. And I think back to earlier this year, when Jeff Hardy was scheduled to come back earlier this year, and they had him do a bit of a media blitz, which meant that he went on WWE Backstage. He went on WWE Backstage and spoke to Renee Young, spoke to all the people on there, and he was so invigorated. He was so invigorated. He was so excited about coming back, and he sounded so passionate once again. He thought, oh, Jeff Hardy, he's clean, he's happy, he's healthy for Jeff Hardy, and this is going to be great. And he spoke about some really exciting potential feuds that he wanted to do before he left WWE. Spoke about wanting to face Roman Reigns. Everyone went, oh, Jeff Hardy, Roman Reigns, that'd be awesome. Spoke about facing The Fiend, and everyone said, whoa, Jeff Hardy versus the Fiend, you could see some really crazy stuff here, and maybe bringing Willow to WWE and going really off the wall, doing some cinematic stuff. Oh, that'd be awesome. Facing Drew McIntyre, well, that would be great too. And Seth Rollins versus Jeff Hardy, what a match that would be. But no. What we have had from Jeff Hardy so far in terms of his feud is this terrible, uncomfortable, tasteless feud with Sheamus. That was just, as I mentioned, poor taste and bad segments. And now this very weird feud with Elias that lacks any logic. And every time I watch this now, I just think to myself, you've got Jeff Hardy for a limited amount of time. You've got 2 years. Let's make the most of it here, okay? Have the big matches, have the big feuds. And don't get me wrong, I don't actually have a problem with him feuding with Elias. I get wanting to elevate talent like Elias, and I get wanting to give Elias a rub. That's fine. But you could have done it in a different way where the storyline made sense, it was actually fun to watch and a bit engaging. You could have done it where both guys are singers, right? Jeff Hardy has a band. Was it Proxy Y-Gen or something like that, and he's actually the better singer than Elias, and Elias is really envious of that, and Elias is having this album come out, but he's envious that Jeff Hardy is the bigger rock star. He's a bigger rock star than Elias really is. And then you can have two of them, you know, facing off on Raw, performing on Raw, have Jeff Hardy perform on Raw, do a rendition of No More Words by Endeavor After, which is coming back for Jeff Hardy's entrance theme, by the way. Do something like that. But no, you go back to a terrible storyline that you did over the summer, and you're rehashing something that everyone wants to forget about. And that's, for me, is the most frustrating thing. And then when I saw this, we're going to do a guitar on the pole, I just went, oh, guitar on a pole, I get it, it's a novelty, and I get that people might tune in to watch it because they want to see something that's car crash TV, pun intended. It doesn't do it for me. And like I said, it's a Vince Russo booking. It is a Vince Russo booking. Not that that's bad. I love the Attitude Era, and I love some of the stuff Vince Russo wrote, but it's just silly. It's silly. And I always think with these things on a pole match, because looking at it, like, it's just a regular match. And the point being that if you get whatever's hung up on the pole, in this case a guitar, you can use it as a weapon legally. I always just think that what happened if Jeff Hardy just Twist of Fate Swanton didn't even bother using it? I always think that's interesting. So these things on a pole match, they always lack a load of logic, and like I said, for me, it just isn't for me. It just isn't for me, this kind of match. It isn't for me the way that they've done this feud. Again, I don't have a problem with Jeff Hardy and Elias. I do have a problem with how it's booked though, because it doesn't make sense the way that it's been booked. It doesn't hook me in. But I'm sure that people will probably want to tune in to see just what on earth this is going to be, because I don't know. I really don't know. We'll have to wait and see tonight. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Elias versus Jeff Hardy tonight on Monday Night Raw in a guitar on a pole match? Who do you think is going to win? Elias, Jeff Hardy? What are your thoughts on this feud so far? What do you think of the storyline so far? Is this the end of the Jeff Hardy versus Elias mini feud on Raw? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys and chatting about Monday Night Raw with you. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. We are doing a Monday Night Raw watch along live tonight, so be sure to subscribe, click that notification bell, set yourself a reminder, then you'll be notified when we go live for tonight's Monday Night Raw watch along. We're also doing watch alongs for Wednesday nights for the likes of either AEW or NXT. We do the Friday Night SmackDown watch alongs. We're going to be doing a watch along for Full Gear, for Survivor Series coming up soon, so now is the best time to subscribe. You won't miss a single thing. We also upload daily videos about all the news and happenings in the pro wrestling world, so be sure to subscribe and you won't miss a single thing. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.